Once again, you're welcome back, everyone. So this second session, our instructor will be working us through Substring, Charindex, and majorly we'll be focusing on the flights, the flights table, just for him to be able to get it cleaned. However, I also want to add that the subquery that was worked on initially, even in the normal work settings, they always encourage that if there's a way you can actually avoid subqueries, you should try to avoid it because of the memory it takes, and you can actually use CTE, you can find, if you can find your way around it instead of using the subqueries, you can do that because it's not really that efficient, but it's actually very, very important that we have the knowledge, and that is why our instructor has taken us through that aspect of it. So the next one is going to take us through. We'll be working on the flight table, and our flight table at this time is actually not there, is not cleaned. So he's going to clean the flight table. And when he first started, he showed us he used Python to show us what the table looks like, and which is, you can actually use your Excel, which is the same thing we showed yesterday. You can use your Excel and see how the table is well structured, and trying to do the occupancy rate, like trying to separate it, bringing the only, for instance, sorry, let me take this time to probably first explain. On this screen that we currently have, we have origin city name. The origin city name and the destination airport ID is meant to be origin city name, and the destination city name is meant to be departure delay plus arrival delay. And we worked on concat yesterday, so you'll be using that, or any form of method you're going to use. You are going to be using that to clean this. And the last one, the cancelled column at this time is meant to be I think the departure delay. The air time is meant to be the arrival delay. The distance is meant to be the cancelled, and the occupancy rate is meant to be between air time, distance, and occupancy rate. So it's actually we're power packed, and it's going to be taking us through. So you have the floor now. Thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. So thank you very much. We'll continue the class right now, and we'll be looking at string functions. So, and they are very important in order to help you manipulate strings. So mostly like characters, when you deal with characters, not letters. And we've talked about the importance of data cleaning. Apparently, like literally, if you have any data, the first thing you should do is try to clean that data to make sure that it is well structured. And so in this case, right, we have origin city name and destination airport ID. So this ID here is actually here, but it should be here, and then this origin city name should be together with the state's code. And so looking at a few functions, first of all, talk about concat. Basically, what this function does is that it's able to help you concatenate two columns together. So for instance, when you have this column and this column, I'm just going to do a select and select concatenate, want to say origin comma destination airport ID. So you can see that they're now together. The other function you should also know about is the trim function. Trim. And we also have like the left trim. We also have the right trim. Basically, what the trim function does is that it helps us remove leading spaces, unwanted spaces on the ends of. So sometimes you can have a particular text that shows, for instance, let's say it shows the airport name, but maybe they start from, say, Abuja Airport or a state, Abuja. Now, we know that this state here is having some spaces here. Sometimes it could even be like this. And these spaces can actually throw off your analysis at times. And so it's important for you to, like, using trim, you're able to take out those leading spaces. But also, trim also has a particular function. Using trim, you're also able to take out, let's say, take out this columns, this what do you call it now? Quotation marks, right, from the front of this particular column. So a typical example would be that, so if I was to do a trim on this, I would say trim this. So when you use trim, you need to put, if you don't put any arguments there, if I just say trim, say, particular column, say airport name. Airport name. Basically, without anything, what it's going to do is that it's going to take out these white spaces on both ends of all the airport names. However, if I say trim and I put, in this case now, I'm going to put like, this, right? And I'm going to say from I have to from. Sorry, we need to trim it first. Let's trim first and then concatenate. Let's see. Trim these spaces from origin city name. What we can see now is that those columns, those quotation marks that were in front of this origin city name are no longer there. So that's the function of trim. The other function I'm going to talk about is a comma, okay. The other function I'm going to talk about is we have a substring. And basically, what a substring does is that it helps us to be able to take, like the name implies, substring. So you have a string, right, characters, and it helps us to be able to take a particular segment or a particular section of that full string. For instance, if I wanted to do a substring on this particular column, origin city name, say I want to take out just the first 3 letters, right? What I'm going to do is say, so I'm just going to use it as an example. I'm going to say select substring, and I'm going to put the string name, right? Origin city name in this case. I'll put the start of the string, and then I'm going to specify the length. So I want it to start from, for instance, from 1, right? And I want to get the first 3 names. So just SAN, that'll be 3. Let's run this. Okay, so that'll be 4 in this case now. 4. Oh, actually it's 3 because it still has the column name. It still has the quotation mark. So, what I can do now is basically apply the substring to the already trimmed function. So I'm just going to do for here. But basically what you can see now is that that's gotten the SAN, like the value, including the quotation mark. But let me apply this now to this and see. So now 1,3. Right? So first of all, we have been able to trim out the quotation marks, and then we apply the substring to just get the first three letters. So this is the start, and this is the length of your string. So length is like how many? So 1, 2, 3. Now the other thing is character index. And basically what this does is that, so we have char index, talk about substring. We have char index. And as the name implies, it's called character index. Basically what it does is that it gives us the index of a particular character in that particular column, right? So I'm going to apply this character index again. So let's say I'll take out the substring here. So we know that we have this function already that has been trimmed. Control Z. Let's copy this. And I want to use this to do a character index. Right. So we have this. And what we want to do now is that we want to get what is the index of this particular space between San and Louis, right? So that would be select character index. And in this case, what we now need to do is talk about which index do we want to, sorry, which particular character do we want to get from this particular function. So let's say we want to get the space. So that'll just be 2 columns. And we're going to close this here. Let's see what this is going to. It's telling me 0. So this is supposed to return the index of that space. Let me try something else. Um, okay, let's look at the occupancy. Let's see. So we have occupancy rate, right? And we know we have commas in this occupancy rate column. Now, what we want to try and do is find the character index from that column. So I'll say select character index of this. Okay, so we have select character index. Still give me a 0. Oh, sorry. I wanted to put a comma here, sorry. That's why I use occupancy rate. Nice. So now what we can see is that, and I'm going to put this on the side, occupancy rate on the side. So what this has done is that it's supposed to give us the first occurrence of this comma in our particular data set. And now, why does this matter? Why is it important? For instance, in this occupancy rate, what we can see is that the character index for comma would vary depending on the particular um, um, depending on the particular row. For instance, in this row is missing it has a null value for one of these columns, right? And so the first letter there is missing. So what we have there is a comma, and then we have the other two values. Here we can see it's 6. Here we can see it's 5. Now, with this calendar index, you are able to write a dynamic code that is able to help you split this particular column into separate columns. So for instance, I'm going to just do it for the first one. So we know that the first column actually should contain airtime, right? It should contain the airtime. So this particular first value here that we have here is the minutes that the plane took, or like how long it was in the air, right? How long the flight took. Now, assuming you wanted to just take out that particular one. First of all, we've been able to identify where the if you need to identify where the first character, where the first comma lies. And so with that, we can select the airtime from that. And so in this case now, that would be, I'm taking from here, right? In this case, okay. So we also have this function called left that is basically able to take everything to the left of your everything to the left of your index, right? Everything to the left of your index. So we can use this a substring here, or you can just use the left to say, or in this case, if you want to use a substring for this, right? What we can do is just say let's see, substring. I will know that substring, first of all, you need to put in your the column, right? So this is going to be substring occupancy rates. And then we are going to have starting from 1 to the end, or to the point where the character index is. Let's see what this will give us. So you can see that it gave us everything up onto that comma, but I think the comma here is included. So what we can now do is we can say character index -1. That is, the index should be stopped before the comma. Now, can you see that we have been able to pull out all the letters? So I said letters, sorry. The airtime. So we can now say, okay, this is airtime as a time. So I mean, this is the use case for character index. For instance, now if we wanted to get the second value, right? Now we need to use like the Charindex multiple times to get where the second comma would be, to get where the second comma would be, and then get where the first comma would be positioned, and then find the difference between that. So these are the string functions. Maybe I'll just do like the full code for the flight data set so that we have that cleaned. So I'm going to select the dates. So first of all, we need to use the try cast for dates. Try cast FL. So we cast this first, and then the operating carrier. So I want to see the column name so that I don't have to. Okay, so we have the operating carrier. We have the tail norm. We have the operating carrier flight norm. We have the origin. Origin airport ID. Let me put this here. Maybe I will get suggestions so that I can be faster in typing that. Origin airport ID. Then we have origin. We have the origin name. So for the origin city name, right? We've talked about using concatenation. So, and then trimming it. So what we're going to do is just use that function right now on this. So it's going to be concat. So we're going to concatenate the trimmed version of both of them. So first of all, we're going to trim this. I want to remove the apostrophe trim from this. And then we'll have a comma somewhere here. You can also concatenate this with a comma, and then I'll copy this code and then we'll have destination airport ID. destination airport ID. Okay, so that should be done now. So being able to trim both of them, trim these two columns, and then concatenate them together. The next step would just be to assign this to destination. So we'll say destination as, so this would be as origin city name. And then we'll have destination airport ID. No, destination as destination airport ID. Yeah. We're gonna have destination as okay. And then the next thing would be, next we need to trim out what? Let me see. So this and this column, so we have destination city name. Destination city name as destination. So and then we'll trim these two and assign it to destination city name. So what I'll just do is just gonna copy and paste this since it's the same function. But this time I'll change it to department delay and department arrival. And arrival delay as destination city name. Okay, so we have that, and then the next thing would be to have
Cancelled as departure delay.
cancelled as departure delay. Oh, right house. Yes. I'll cast this as an integer soon. And this is departure. And then we'll do the same for airtime. And this would be arrival delay. And then distance as cancelled. As cancelled. And then we can use substring that we did here for airtime. Just going to copy this for airtime. And then we'll have so we're left with distance, and then we're left with occupancy rate. So we use a substring for that too. Substring occupancy rates. And then we're going to use the car index here. But what we're going to do is say we're going to select um okay, we know that the character index gives us the position of the first occurrence, right? So we know that substring is going to it has a start and an end. And in this place, we want to substring this, but we want to pick out the two middle ones. Now for this character index, what we're going to do is we are going to say that it should start from the character after the first comma. So this is going to be +1. So this does the character after the first comma. And then we are going to leave, and then we're going to calculate the length between the first comma or the first character and the second comma. I mean, and this is a little complex, but it's basically just character index too. We're going to have character index and the occurrence of this comma, of course, in occupancy rate. Um, so the character index can also take in um, 3 arguments. That is, it can take in 3 parameters. Trying to see. Trying to remember what the last argument is. One minute, please. So character index can also take in 3 arguments. Let me see. So basically, in this case, right, when we put in character index and we put occupancy rates, we just tell it to find the first occurrence of this comma. But if you put in a third value here in this character index function, you can actually tell it where to start from. So normally it starts from 0, right? And start searching for this particular character from 0 and gives you the index. But you can actually tell it that, okay, I don't want you to start from 0. I want you to start from a particular position. And in this case, that is what we're going to do. We're going to tell it to start counting from where the first comma starts from. So we're going to do another character index inside this character index, which is that going to be current index first comma occupancy rate. I'm going to add +1. So basically, what we are telling it to do is that it should start, this particular function is telling to start from the index after the index after the second comma, and then we will now subtract this from the actual character index from the first comma. So basically, what we're trying to do with this is that we are trying to find the length. Of course, you know that substring takes in 3 arguments. It takes in the first one, which is just the column name. It takes in the second one, which is going to be this, where to start from, right? And we have told it to start from the second. We told it to start from the second, the index after the first comma, right? Because that's the first letter. And then we now want to find the length. That is how many strings should it take from that particular substring. So this is going to be minus character index um so basically what this code is doing, this particular line, is that it's just taking the substring of this starting point here and then the length of that character. I know this is a very long one. So let me see if I can run this. Oh, as what? As distance. So as distance, we're going to do distance now, and this, I'm going to leave the last one for us to draw ourselves. So we need to get airtime, we need to get distance. The last one will be occupancy rate. So I wanted to quickly touch on, and then basically you can select this into a new table, into, let's say, let me see.
You have a comma at the end of distance.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. So yeah, basically you can select this into a new table, and then that will basically create a new table of flight 1, and that is going to have all that existing query. So basically, I will leave us to do the last one by ourselves. That's the occupancy rate. Using the knowledge of character index and substring, you can do that yourself. So the table has been created already. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on was case when statement, or I mean, we have case when statement and we also have dates. I'll quickly brush on that very fast. So for case when statement, basically they help us to be able to group things. So I think I was trying to write a case when statement somewhere. Okay, from the flight view. And basically in this case, right, what I can do is say, I can do like a case statement, say case, when you use a case statement, it always follows a when. I'm basically saying, okay, case when, for instance, itinerary fare. In this case, I want to group itinerary fare into like some buckets. I can say when itinerary fare is less than 300, right? Then let it be. Then this should be low fare. So basically, this is how your case when statement should be structured. You start with the case and say when a particular value is less than or any other condition. So this must be a condition. Then it should be what? And basically what it does is that it helps you create like a categorical column based off of a numerical column. In this case, itinerary fare. And then you can see when, okay, itinerary fare is between, say, 300 and say 600, then it should be what? It should be medium, right? Maybe medium fare. Now, after that, you can just put an else statement. Basically, everything else should be zero, but we know that so it should be something else. But we know that in this case, we might have maybe further as zero. So we can say when I'm just going to copy this. When itinerary fare is greater than 600, then it should be high fare. And then I can now put, oh, sorry, I didn't put it then. And you cannot use an else. So what should happen if your condition doesn't fall under these three buckets? For instance, you have a fare that is maybe say null, then you can say else it should be unknown or no fare, something like that. And oh, sorry, you should end this. Sorry, you should always end your statement as something else. Right? So we can see low fare, high fare, medium fare, and you can do a count on top of this. For instance, I want to count how many low fare do I have, right? I can say select the count of this, group it by something. So basically that's a case when statement, and it's very helpful to categorize um your numerical columns. And then lastly, I will just touch on date functions because date functions are very important in SQL. And I mean, with the flight data sets, right? I mean, there are a lot of it has a date there, so we can do a lot of things with that. Typically, you can select dates from your so select get dates. Basically, what this will do is that it's going to select the current dates, so you can see, and the time. It's going to give you that. But also, you can also select the part of a date. So I can say select date parts. And you need to specify whether you want the year or the month. In this case, I'm going to put FL dates, and it's going to be from the flight table, flight one table actually. So you can see the year is 2019. I can copy that, paste, I can do the month if I want to. The month is month 3. So I mean, you can do that. You can also just do a normal month instead of using this date part. You can just say month or year or day. So yeah, it's going to give us the same thing, right? So you can either use this or you can use this to select your month. Now you can also do some sort of numerical computations on your date value. For instance, you can add dates with the date add function. Dates add. So I'm going to select. So I'm going to say months and add, let's say, 2 months to FL dates. So basically what this will do is that it's going to add 2 extra months to something wrong here. What's this? Dot. I didn't put it from there. So basically what this has done is that it has added 2 months. So I mean, if you know your data set very well, you would know that um, all our data was in the first quarter because I tried to filter on quarter 2 and I didn't see any quarter 2 in the data set. So we had only 1 quarter. Now with adding 2 months to this particular data set, we can see that this month is now um, May, yeah, which is in second quarter of the year. So it has added 2 months to all the data sets. And then you can also add, can do this by day. So that can either be a day or it can either be the year. And then if you want to subtract, you change this value to a negative value. So if I say -1 or -2, subtract 2 months. And then you can also find the difference between two dates. So which is dates diff. Basically, what this does is that it will find the difference between two dates. So it takes into 3 arguments. You can say, okay, you want to find the difference in years between 2 years, right? So, for instance, I can say year of, say, I'm just going to put a string here, 2000 and then 2025. Select um, let me do it from current date. Oh, I select statement is wrong. Sorry. That's what happened when you. So I took today's date, which is like current date, right? This year, and I'm subtracting this year from 2000, so 25 years. You can change this to months. So you can also change that to months. You can change that to day. You can change that to the year. Those are kind of the major date functions. There are the other ones. There are many, and you might be thinking to yourself, "Oh, how do I know all these functions? How do I know all these dates?" What I will tell you is that there are a lot of resources out there. You don't necessarily need to know all these things on your head. You just need to know what you need and be able to get that and apply it to your specific task. So I mean, you don't need to cram everything on your head. You can do a quick search, use different AI tools, to find the functions that you need and apply that function to your specific use case. So I'm going to stop here and I'm just hand over back to Olamide. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time.
Thank you, Justus. Let's appreciate Justus for the time. Doing this for us for free. We didn't pay him anything. And since we didn't actually collect anything from all of us, so we appreciate you, Justus. Thank you so much. So the recording for this class will be provided as well, and the exercise for yesterday class and today's class will be posted on the platform. So it's actually very necessary for us to just try our hands on it. So don't feel like, oh, I have a deadline to meet. See it as a means of discipline for us to just be able to, do that and practice on it. So next week we'll be meeting again at the same time. So we should be wrapping up the SQL aspect of it. So believe me, this is the hardest part of it, the subqueries, the what's it called, the Charindex, the substring, and the other one which probably be like, how do we, undo duplication? How do we undo nulls? How do we transfer, clean our data, ensure that the data is clean? It might even be what you've known before, but just what we still have to um, hammer on, in the class. So we'll be wrapping up with the SQL aspect of it on Saturday and Sunday. Then on Sunday we might probably start working on the Power BI aspect of it. So the code we'll be using, we also the code we'll be using for the Power BI, we'll be connecting our Power BI to this database that we've created. So you see, if you've not been following the class so far, then it means that you'll definitely be left behind. So we'll be connecting our Power BI to this database, even though some persons can say they want to connect it to, let's say, Excel or to the Excel, but we won't be connecting it to the Excel because we have a large data set and the joining will be so much, doing that in the Power BI. I've actually tried it and it's not something that we want to try to do. So we will try to work on the query we are going to be using. We create a view for that, or it might be a view or a table, and we are going to be connecting the table to our Power BI. That's in the upper week. Then we just, spend maybe 2, 3 classes and we are done. So thank you everyone for joining. Oh, sorry. I will stop.